So why do people say that Celta is such a nightmare and a horrible time and so difficult to do? Well, we know Celta ain't no bed of roses, but it's not that challenging either. Today we're going to talk about the challenges Walter and I faced during our Celta and try to, well, perhaps calm you down and encourage you to take the Celta yourself. So see you after Vinheta.
All right, folks. I don't mean to say that we're going to be looking at the whole experience with rose-tinted glasses. Those are off. Right, Bruno? But
yeah,
the whole experience with the Celta is just that how many people do you know they have said things like, my God, this is difficult, or something like that. But while they were doing the Celta, after you finish the experience, you're just really happy that you got it, you got your certificate, and then you have that sense of accomplishment. And then when you look back, I think that us human beings, we have that tendency to look at things that made a difference in our lives, and in a nostalgic way, or either that, or maybe just looking at the positive things about it. So we tend to look as like, oh yeah, and that's just because the difference that the Celta makes in your life, like that, it's such a huge difference in your lessons, and then you tend to look at that and say, yeah, it was difficult, but it was really worth it. And in this video we're going to be looking at the things that make it difficult, right? Or that people say make it difficult, right? Bruno, what was the number one thing for you?
We mentioned that already, and I think our audience can already guess. So if you can pause the video right now, think about it, and then unpause it. It's time management. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I took the Celta intensively, right? The whole month only dedicated for Celta, and it's a whole month dedicated for the course. So if you're planning on taking the course, the intensive version of the course, you should set aside the whole month, be on vacation, from school, from work, from university, from private classes, because you're going to need all of the available time for the course. And how was the experience, Walter, taking the course extensively?
I took it on, mine was online, and I took it in 5 months, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing is, I was doing that and working 5 jobs. Working for 5 different institutions.
Jesus Christ.
It was really busy. But then there is the fact that we took it at different moments of our teaching careers, right? I was experienced when I took it. You were cutting your teeth, if I'm not wrong, yes. Right? You're in the beginning of your career. And
I was in the beginning of my. It was my first formal training program. Yes. I had been teaching for 5 years, but very intuitively, and then I took the Celta to kind of formalize everything.
And you see how that worked out. But in terms of time management, it was a bit of a nightmare. I have to say it was quite difficult. I don't think it's a good like if you're gonna do something like that while you're working, you have to set aside a few hours for you to study, and just so you're not struggling with the time. Like I would say
I think that
10 hours
weekly. 10 hours?
10 hours weekly. I think they say 15. I think 10 is okay. Plus, you have 4 or 5 encounters with the group and the tutor. Those are on Friday mornings. I don't know. That could vary from one center to the other. But anyway, and then when you have the TPs, you're on vacation. There's no other way. You're living for that. You're writing lesson plannings like every other day. So, and you have to do observation. So yeah.
The input sessions are extensive. Are extensively delivered, but the lessons you teach are intensively delivered.
Intensive, completely intensive.
I didn't know.
I thought I had mentioned that.
I
Maybe
thought you
yeah.
would. I thought you would teach like a lesson a week,
No.
and then you had
No.
to prepare for this lesson.
We had to
Mm.
teach 2 lessons a week, and those were spread into 4 weeks. So it's the entire. It was for me, it was the entire month of January.
Mm.
However, I think that the option you mentioned is a possibility. I think they do offer that.
Okay, so 10 hours for the input sessions, and for the month that you're teaching, only the Celta.
It should suffice.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, when you're doing the TPs, like you really have to sit down and get to work, because those pages aren't going to write themselves,
Oh, they're not.
So it takes a. One question. Do you remember how many pages each one of your lesson plannings had?
From around 5 to 7. Yeah.
My works are just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 14 to 18 pages.
Oh my God, no.
I think that I think that I was like, when I took the Celta, I was one of those that was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody because I don't want to jinx it. But I was like, I really want to get an A. I didn't. I got a B. But I mean, I really worked like crazy. Everybody who wants to get an A never gets an A.
Well, some of them do, but the percentage is very low. I think it's like 2%. And I mean, I don't think the grades matter when you're taking the course.
It's not important. I think it has to be a personal thing. Like when I was doing the Delta, I never cared about that. It was only about the learning experience, and of course, feeling safe that you're gonna get a pass. Like you're not gonna be concerned about that. But yeah, and that's a good piece of advice. Like I don't think you should be concerned about that. Your concern should always be the learning curve in there, that is involved. Can I say mine? I think that one thing that is difficult if you're an experienced teacher and you're taking the Celta, I don't think I had that difficulty. I think I deal pretty well with it's not about criticizing, it's about critiquing, but people are you have peers analyzing your lesson and the tutor analyzing your lesson, so you get a lot of feedback. I think that's a humbling experience, and that's the whole point of it, because it helps you see things in your lesson that you never thought of. My tutor said that I had a tendency to be very negative towards mistakes. For example, a student made a mistake, and he said, "You can see it in your face that he made a mistake."
That the student made a mistake.
Like that, and I was like, "You have
what
to
are
be."
You saying, man?
And I'm like, "Do I do that? Like, because of like." Why? And then you gotta learn with that. I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to be more positive and about embracing the student more. So when they make a mistake, instead of saying like no, it's like, oh, the answer is this. No, just avoid saying that. Avoid negativity. Avoid the negative feeling in the learner. And it's like, can anybody help, or does everybody agree with that answer, or something like that, so that you won't cause that kind of feeling, right? Something that is, mistakes will happen, so it's a part of learning.
I like the phrase, I think we can say that better.
Yeah, that's a little bit like kind of behaviorism in there,
it
right?
Is behavioristic.
It is behavioristic anyway.
And I think that there are instances in which we have to tell students this is incorrect, right?
Absolutely.
This is wrong. Yes. We need a course on error correction. We have talked about this, but it's coming, folks.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Because I think it's important, especially. I feel sometimes that kids, if you don't tell them that what they're saying is wrong, if you just keep telling them that, we can say this better, they will not realize the mistake. So, but beyond the point. Yeah. I also included feedback here. I think I agree with you. it is a very humbling experience. My first teaching practice. I gotta be very honest. I got to my Celta thinking that I was just gonna confirm everything I knew.
I'm gonna rock
going in the
worlds
course.
here.
Yes, I thought I was gonna rock their world. Like, you got nothing to teach me. I wrote the first lesson plan. I thought it was a very good lesson plan. And in hindsight, it wasn't at all. Like, the students did not use the target language. They did not manipulate the target language. It was complete disaster. But still, after I taught the lesson, I thought it had been a great lesson. And I needed the tutor's investigation and so that I could realize that students were not producing, they were not using the target language of the lesson. It was very eye-opening, and it's a very humbling experience. It's at first it's shocking, right? It's a hit to your self-esteem as a teacher, and if you, like myself, kind of mix your identity with your profession and what you do, it ends up being a hit on you as a person, right?
And you kind of second guess, right? Like, am I supposed to be doing this?
Yeah. But then you realize that there's a lot to learn, and then this is an entry certificate, and then there's a whole new world after this. It's a fantastic experience, but I remember a couple colleagues didn't take it like that. I remember colleagues challenging feedback and getting pissed about it. Kind of beats the purpose of being with an expert there. So the person giving you the Celta at least has a Delta or a master's degree in language teaching. So come on, be humble. Listen,
right? Like, swallow all that pride. Because, regarding that experience of like, I'm gonna rock the world with this lesson planning is great. Gotta say, being there, done that. I've bought the T-shirt, man, because I experienced exactly the same thing with TP1. And here goes one
straight white man coming into a certificate. Right? I mean, it's
yeah. I hadn't thought of that yet. But first CP, it wasn't a pass. My first CP. I don't remember the grading system. There is
below standard, to standard, and above standard.
My first one was below standard. I'm pretty sure. I can check it, but I'm pretty sure it was below standard. I think I remember having the feeling, I was like, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm being wrong all this time. I gotta say, and then what you said about tutors, I got so close to my tutor. My tutor was Elcio and was Maria Elena. People who you admire and who are like, I observed some lessons that my tutor did throughout the course with the group, volunteer students anyway. When you are at awe, like, or like the way the person is teaching it, or like, how did he do that? He was using ECDB. It's something that I don't think every center is going to use in the Celta, but
elicit, check, drill, and write on the board.
The first time I saw he do that, it kind of, like when you feel when somebody's doing magic in front of you and you're like, how?
Wow.
Right? Yeah, you were completely at awe.
Another one that I wrote, one that I took note here, were the frameworks. I don't think they were a difficulty per se, but as I was saying, before Celta, I was teaching very intuitively. I would bring to class activities that were fun, that were engaging, and that would get students talking about the topic of the lesson, hopefully using the target language. Target language is usually easy to identify in course books, right? So that's how I would teach. So a lesson in which students spoke English for 80% of the lesson, that was a good lesson. Learning that there were specific procedures to be followed. So it cannot be intuitive and artistic as I was doing. It has to be instrumentalized. It has to be under constraints. And under these constraints, ECDB, MPF, PPP, control practice, freer practice, wrap up, leading, for lack of a better word and for sounding like a coach. But it is a mindset shift, right? It's like, okay, so there is science in this. That was my impression. Like, oh, there is science behind this. It's not fun and games. I thought it was a challenge for me.
Yeah, there is science involved, and then that there are standards in there. I think there's a lot of Scrivener when we're talking about I remember reading a lot of Scrivener for that purpose, for the assignments as well.
It was the very first book I read. It's teaching. It's a blue book with a bridge on the cover.
Yes,
in ELT.
I kind of get the feeling that in the Celta, it's kind of like the Bible of the Celta.
And that Harmer, the practice, teaching practice, the practice of language teaching, something like that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Walter, I think this is it for the main difficulties, right? Time management, getting feedback in a constructive manner, learning how to.
Can I include something there? I'm just going to include something there. Something that is difficult. Okay. I think it might be difficult for a lot of people. My girlfriend at the time, my wife now, she gave me a lot of support. There were days that were like extremely busy because of the Celta and my jobs. I think that having that support, that somebody that's going to, get your back or just tell you to keep going, you really got to make sure that, because, you don't want to be in the middle of a crisis when you're doing this. It's too intensive. Well, Bruno, I think we got enough for this one. Yep.
Yeah. So folks, tell us your experience. If you decide to take the Celta, tell us your experience. So if you have taken the Celta and you're watching this video, why? But make sure you write your difficulties. What were the challenges you faced in Celta or any other Certizo kind of certificate, right? I think it's important to share with our community that it's not bicho de sete cabeças. It's very doable. As with everything in life, there are some difficulties here and there, right?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you in the next video.
Like, subscribe, everything.
Don't forget. Yes. Bye.
Bye.